There are a lot of myths about people who are homeless in California. They're from another state. They don't want a job. They don't want a home. A sweeping study published by the University of California, San Francisco, paints a different picture, one of people who were working and living in poverty in the state until they suddenly lost their homes. Not knowing where to turn, they ended up on the street, where they endure violence and poor health as they try for years to climb back to stability. Nearly 1/3 of all people who are unhoused in the United States live in the Golden State, according to a new study. The California statewide study of people experiencing homelessness also reveals 50% of all unsheltered people in the country, who may or may not have a car to sleep in, live in California. Almost 90% reported that the cost of housing was the main reason they could not escape homelessness. The results of the study confirm that far too many Californians experience homelessness because they cannot afford housing, told Margot Kushel, a principal investigator of the study and director at the University of California. The study encompasses findings from nearly 3,200 surveys and 365 in-depth interviews with adults experiencing homelessness across the state between October 2021 and November 2022. It is the largest representative study of homelessness in the United States since the mid-1990s, according to the study, which was requested by California Governor Gavin Newsom's administration, Fortune reported. More than 1 million people experience homelessness in the United States in a given year, and many more are at risk of losing their homes, according to the Biden administration. Florida, New York and Washington also had high rates of homelessness last year, the annual Homeless Assessment Report shows. The report provides data and analysis for funding decisions by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. What does the study reveal? The study found that many people cannot afford homes in the state. Nearly all people surveyed said they face barriers, like poor credit history, discrimination, health challenges or prior evictions, when trying to rent or buy a home. California is experiencing a housing shortage crisis, and the state is home to some of the most unaffordable places to live in the country. The research shows the incalculable personal costs of homelessness. California's homeless population is growing older in age, with the median age of participants being 47 years old, the new research shows, with nearly half of the state's homeless population being 50 years old or older. An overrepresented majority are Latino, 35%, Black, 26%, and Native American, 12%. A vast majority of people surveyed were from or last housed in California, and about 20% of the unhoused people surveyed came straight from institutions. 2/3 of all participants surveyed reported struggling with mental health issues at the time they were surveyed, and 72% had experienced some type of physical violence in their lifetime, the findings show. Many of the unhoused people the institute surveyed are looking for jobs. Participants were disconnected from the job market and services, but almost half were looking for work, a news release attached to the study reads. In an attempt to reduce homelessness nationwide by 25% by January 2025, the Biden administration last month unveiled an initiative called All Inside, to help unhoused people in cities with high homeless populations access federal services. Those cities include Los Angeles, Chicago, Dallas, Phoenix and Seattle. 6 facts about homelessness in the United States. Every night, hundreds of thousands of people in America don't have a permanent, safe place to stay. Homelessness can look like living in a car, hopping from shelter to shelter, or staying temporarily with different people. While collecting accurate data is challenging, there are certain facts human rights advocates should know about homelessness in the United States. 1. There are about 1 million people experiencing homelessness in the United States. While homelessness is a global issue, the United States has faced a sharp rise in recent years. People staying in shelters and on the streets. It's difficult to know if this number is completely accurate. Why? The number comes from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's point-in-time, PIT, count. PIT is a count of sheltered and unsheltered people experiencing homelessness on one night in January. That can limit the accuracy of the count. Also, unsheltered youth often don't seek out traditional homelessness assistance programs, so they can easily be undercounted. 2. Homelessness has many causes. In the United States, several factors intersect and build on one another to create conditions that lead to homelessness. Poverty is a major cause. While affordable housing has decreased, wages haven't kept up. This churns up a perfect storm of high housing prices, low pay, and reduced public assistance. A lack of affordable healthcare drives homelessness, as well. Several studies show a close link between healthcare costs and bankruptcy, which can quickly lead to homelessness. While addiction and mental illness can also cause people to lose their housing, research shows addressing poverty, wages, affordable housing, and healthcare costs would significantly reduce homelessness. 3. Certain groups are at a higher risk of homelessness. According to HUD data, certain groups are more likely to experience homelessness than others. Out of 10,000 men, 22 are homeless, while 13 out of 10,000 women are homeless. HUD data also finds that race and ethnicity affect risk. Racial and ethnic groups that have faced marginalization, like Black Americans and Native Americans, experience increased rates. This makes sense considering the long-standing discrimination and inequalities in American society. What about disabled people? According to data described in a 2022 Immigration and Human Rights Law Review article, disabled individuals have a higher risk for homelessness. 20% of people with disabilities live in developed countries, but those same countries don't provide sufficient housing. In the United States, the number of disabled people experiencing long-term or chronic homelessness increased by 8.5% from 2018 to 2019. 4. LGBTQ+ youth are uniquely vulnerable. For a few reasons, LGBTQ+ youth are at high risk for homelessness. Of the roughly 1.6 million young people who experience homelessness each year, up to 40% identify as LGBTQ+. According to a 2013 Child Trends article, these young people are also more likely to experience homelessness at a younger age than other unsheltered youth. Rejection from family is a common reason. About 50% of teens report getting a negative reaction when they come out, while 1 in 4 get kicked out of their homes. Without safe, stable options, these rejected kids often end up on the streets and vulnerable to violence, criminal activity, and other serious outcomes. Books on homelessness like No House to Call My Own, which was written in 2015 by Ryan Berg, help educate advocates on what LGBTQ+ youth face and how to provide the best care. 5. Veterans face increased risks, but there's been significant progress. In the United States, veterans face the usual risks for homelessness, a lack of affordable housing, poverty, and unemployment, but they also have higher risks for mental illness, substance abuse, and social isolation. Historically, these factors have made veterans more likely to experience homelessness than non-veterans. In 2009, the National Coalition for the Homeless found that veterans made up 23% of the homeless population. 47% were from the Vietnam War era, which severely affected returning soldiers. According to a VA survey, 500,000 of those who served in Vietnam suffered from PTSD, high rates of suicide, divorce, and substance abuse. The real number is likely much higher as surveys tend to only reflect a portion of the truth. Since 2009, progress has been made. In November 2022, HUD published a press release announcing a 55.3% reduction in veterans experiencing homelessness since 2010. 6. Many cities address homelessness by criminalizing it. Unfortunately, many places in the United States respond to homelessness by categorizing it as a crime. That doesn't mean laws directly say, being homeless makes you a criminal, but cities have created webs of laws that end up essentially criminalizing homelessness. Hiding homelessness. The transcarceration of homelessness from the California Law Review lays out several examples, including bans on sleeping outside, camping, standing near a building for too long, receiving food, and so on. For unhoused people, it becomes nearly impossible to avoid breaking these laws. Consequences include harassment from law enforcement, criminal charges, and jail time. Framing homelessness as a crime also increases the likelihood that unhoused people will be treated poorly and face even more marginalization. It also penalizes people who want to help. In October 2022, an Arizona woman was arrested for sharing food with unhoused people in a park. Why? The city had passed an ordinance that forbade people from sharing prepared food in parks for charitable purposes. Before her arrest, the retired restaurant owner had been distributing free food for 4 years. California has invested record amounts of funding toward homelessness in recent years, which has resulted in more people accessing shelters and decreases in the proportion of people who are unsheltered. But only homes end homelessness. And the state has never developed a comprehensive plan for its investments and housing for people who are without homes.